This thing is sick now. Oh, geez. All right, I need to take it easy here. I don't want to tear it up. So you purchased the DeeRC 2907E, and it's slower than you'd like. I've done a full review on this truck. It actually handles really well. It's a lot of fun. It looks good, especially if pink's your thing. Pink Pony Club, I'm gonna keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. I'm gonna keep on dancing. So we're gonna go ahead and yank this brushed system. Just was not getting the performance out of here. I hope to, but because I already have a receiver in here and a 3-wire servo, this will be a really quick and easy swap. I have this J-Dole servo here. Awesome little servo. Here's the specs on it. Fits in here. I used it, it worked perfectly. It's quicker than the stock servo and stronger, so win-win. But the beauty is now I can just go ahead and install a brushless ESC. Something like this little 45 amp unit would be more than powerful enough for this setup, and even a 60 amp would come in the same size. But you could get an ESC like this and an F540 motor for like $35. So a lot of value there. I was gonna run an F540, but I don't really have one free at the moment. So I have this really spicy 3650 540 motor. 5400 kV. So this will scream on 3S and still be really quick on 2S. I was gonna use this ESC, it would be fine. It's 2S to 3S capable, but I did just receive this brand new Ovonic iFlow 10 BL 120 amp ESC. And I'm gonna put this in here because I can turn the punch down on this, and I'm gonna want the punch low. This does have a plastic gear in here, and it can run 4S if I go absolutely bonkers with this truck. I don't know if I ever will run it on 4S, but I figured it'd be fun to run this in here. I have a lot of headroom, and I have a programming card, so I can get a lot of really useful information out of this ESC. The only negative of this is the price. It's probably going to cost $60 to $70 when it's released. So a little cost prohibitive in a car this cheap. You guys are probably better off with something like this. And I may go ahead and even run something like this later on. But for now, we're going to go ahead and install this 120 amp ESC and this 3650 5400 kV motor in this car. And we're just going to plug it in and it'll be ready to rip. So I was pretty excited to go ahead and get started with this project, and I've already been tinkering with the servo to make sure it'll fit. Here's the included servo here that you have to remove. So what you need to do to remove this is there's 2 screws, one here, one here. Undo those, and then this whole battery strap along with the servo holder pops out. Again, this is the included servo. I have not removed it completely yet. Then you're going to go ahead and need to remove the arm here. This just pops off this ball fitting here. You might find it easier to unscrew the servo arm to do that, but you're going to need to pull this out of here and free this arm. So I've already done all of that. You're also going to need to go ahead and remove 2 screws to remove this plastic piece here that covers the ESC. And here is the servo mount. There's not a traditional servo mount here. It slides into these 2 grooves right here. So again, here is the stock servo. It went in like this. Turn it upside down. You see the 2 grooves there? It slid in like that. And then these 2 screws are what mount here to hold everything in place. Again, it went like that. So with this servo, what we're going to have to do is, because it's a little narrower in overall width, is when I slide it in here, you'll see there's a little bit of wiggle room here, side to side. Not a big deal. I don't know if you'll find a servo that fits in here perfectly. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of that glue, put it on here, put the servo on here, and it should hold it firmly in place. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, that should be enough right there. Make sure we have this lined up right, like that. And then we're just gonna go ahead, push this on here, make sure it's centered. That looks centered pretty well. I think I may let this dry before I move on to make sure it stays centered. Got a little too much glue here. So I'll rub that off, flip this over, and yeah, that looks to be centered right there. So we'll let this glue and we'll come back later today or tomorrow. So you can see here, it's glued in and it's centered pretty well in the mount. So hopefully I'll just bolt right in here. First, we got to attach the servo arm with one of the included screws. And you want to use this little black screw here that comes with the kit to attach the servo arm to the servo. Just like that. Now we're going to go ahead and see if this thing mounts as I'm hoping it will. There we go. And does not look like we're touching the center drive shaft, so that's good. So we're going to pop this in there like that. Then we have the two screws here. Oh, actually, we got to figure out a way to screw this on. What actually worked best is I took a small drill bit that was just a little bigger than the hole that was already in the servo arm here. Just kind of slowly reamed it out and kept making it larger until I could get my hex wrench in there, and then it went in no problem. And I did move it to the outer hole, the one that has more travel. It's more travel than you need, but the servo has plenty of power, and I have dual rate on this transmitter, so I can turn down the sensitivity of the steering. But if you don't have dual rate, you might want to use the internal one. You'll have to see which hole you prefer. 2mm hex is what you need to screw this in.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, baby. Yeah.
And now we're going to go ahead and pop on the arm here, just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and reinstall the servo mount. All right, that should do it. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and remove the brace here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws. We're gonna pop this out, and then we're gonna go ahead and pull this motor out, put the pinion from this motor onto this motor here, and then reinstall it, and then install the ESC, and we'll be ready to rip. Okay, so we have the screws loosened, and we're just gonna go ahead and pull this whole assembly out of here. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to just leave all the screws right in there and carefully set this aside after I pull the motor out of here. So we're just gonna slide the motor out and push this out of the way. So here's the motor. We're gonna need this mount and this pinion gear here. The pinion is just pressed on, so to remove the pinion gear, we should be able just to put a pair of pliers here and walk it out like that. Very good. We're going to go ahead and pull out this motor mount. All right, very nice. And take note that you want the screws, when you put them back in, to go in the side with a depression. The other side's flat, and that's the wrong side to put the screws in. So just remember that. Now we're going to go ahead and remove this ESC. I used some E6000 glue to install it in here, so it should remove without too much drama. Okay, there we go. And we're just gonna pop this right out of here. So for this motor, we're just gonna go ahead and line up the depression here on the pinion gear with the flat spot like this. And then we're just gonna go ahead and tap it onto the motor. I'll line it up a little better in a moment, but you can get it started like that. Then we're gonna put the motor mount back on here. So just go ahead and screw these screws in until they stick out just a little bit past the mount, and that'll help us get them in there. There we go, both of those are out just slightly. So now I'm gonna go ahead and you can feel it line up with the holes once you have the screws sticking out like I just showed you, and then snug these up. You might want to put a little thread locker on here. I think mine are going to be okay. They feel like they have some residual still on here, but you may want to use a little bit of thread locker here. Okay, these are good and snug. And then we can go ahead and just test fit this, slide it in here, and you can see it's actually in a little too far. So I actually need to pull this out just a little bit so that lines up a little better. So we'll try that. That looks about perfect right there. And I can just leave it right there. Now this ESC is big, but there is a lot of room here. So look at that, fits in there like a glove, but these screws and this mounting area is in the way. So I'm gonna build a new foam ESC mount. Just gonna take a little bit of foam here and cut out a strip that fits in this area. That right there looks like it'll work well. And then what I'm gonna do is let this dry for about 24 hours. So just go ahead and put some weight on your ESC and don't move it around. And we'll come back in about 24 hours and we'll finish the installation. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and insert the motor wires. If we get the order wrong, we'll just go ahead and swap the outer two wires. And then we just need to go ahead and insert the plug here for the ESC. White wire will go on this side here. I'm having issues with this hitting my ESC. So I'm just gonna pop this right off of here. And then for the ESC fan, we're just gonna slide this right back onto this new motor, like that, and then plug in the ESC fan, black wire to black wire. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and test out the ESC, make sure the motor wires are the correct direction. That's this fan that's real noisy. And we're going the correct way. And the servo works perfectly, works very quickly, and it has plenty of power. More power than the original servo, so good stuff there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and take this thing out, see how fast it is on 2S, and probably run it on 3S as well. Stay tuned. This thing is sick now. Oh, geez. Alright, I need to take it easy here. I don't want to tear it up. Full throttle. Nice. Look how stable it is.